Hello friend, this is Ryan Hicks of TalkToProfit.com, and today I want to talk to you about a lesson that this will apply to all businesses, but this is specifically about an eBay seller, a multi-million-dollar eBay seller who got suspended permanently from eBay recently. He has a channel on YouTube. I'll link to his video so you can watch his actual explanation of it. That's not really the point of this video. The lessons that we can learn from it is the point of this video. Now, I will go in just to details. You can wonder, what would somebody get suspended for? He must be doing something criminal. Or no, there are certain behaviors, practices that can be risky, although ethical, legal, all that stuff, but they open eBay up to more risk, I guess, for chargebacks and things like that. And so sometimes they can terminate people's accounts if they're engaging in risky behavior. Now, risky is kind of subjective because in his situation, it probably wasn't a real risk. But they looked at it from their perspective, it seemed to be a risk, at least from the information I'm getting from him. I don't know their actual side on it, so it could be something different. But there's a lot of lessons to learn from this. He was selling one-off prototype shoes, things like that, shoes that were given to sports teams that were ultra rare. There may only be one of them in the world. And these are shoes that are $50,000 shoes in some cases. So these are very high-end, very expensive. And if somebody charges back a $50,000 pair of shoes, that's a big risk for eBay. That's understandable. And his issue came in where he didn't have invoices for these, so he couldn't prove his source. So from their perspective, was he getting them from somebody who stole them from I mean, there's no way of knowing because he didn't have proper invoices, and he couldn't have proper invoices for shoes that are prototypes. They weren't sold. They didn't have boxes in some cases. They were just prototype shoes. But one of the interesting things he mentioned was it says not for resale on many of the shoes. Maybe all of them. And that might be a interesting lesson number one. When the manufacturers are specifically saying certain things shouldn't be resold, not for resale. I'm not talking about things that say not individually packaged for resale. That's a different issue. That's just saying this doesn't have a barcode. This is not made to be resold. Doesn't mean you can't resell it. And the first use doctrine, first sale doctrine, all that stuff. This is about if you're operating an eBay business or any kind of business online where you're using a marketplace to sell your goods. If you're selling another person's goods, such as these prototype shoes or any kind of shoes, you need to be very aware of that kind of idea. That if this item is a not for resale item, it's a prototype. It was not meant to be resold. It was not meant to be in the general consumption for the public. You might want to rethink listing that, at least on eBay or Amazon or sites like that, who are a little more diligent about where's your source for this item. Now, I'm not talking about if you're getting them off the back of a truck. That's a completely different issue. That's illegal, that's unethical, that's immoral. You shouldn't be doing that at all. But maybe you're running into some inventory that's ultra rare and the source is honest. They didn't steal them or anything like that. But the idea is they shouldn't be resold. So maybe you want to stay away from that kind of stuff, or at least move it to another platform, because legally you have a right to sell those. They're your possession, you own them, you have a right to resell them how often you want. But you can get into other issues because marketplaces don't take that stuff kindly. They don't like it. So maybe you need to move that to a face-to-face or some sort of other platform where they're all right with that stuff being open in the free market. So that is something important to note. The other thing important to note was that he knew, he talks about it in the video I'll link to you and other videos, he talks about how he kind of knew this wasn't the best idea. Now he sold, I think it was 2.5 million or something. I may have the number wrong in the last year worth of items. And of the shoes, I think that was 1.7 or 1.8 million. So there's a lot of inventory being moved dollar-wise, but he wasn't making a whole lot of profit. It wasn't like he was getting 50% profit. It was just a little bit. It was so little that when he was selling these at the time when eBay was offering free, no final value fees, no sale fees, that when they instituted those fees again, he couldn't sell them anymore because there wasn't any profit left. So you know the profit was under 10% or whatever the current final value fee is on eBay. It was under that. So you're getting into moving inventory that there's more potential for problems, especially if you get a chargeback, because it's a high ticket item. The marketplace may not like you selling them in the first place, and you have no paper trail. You have no way of proving that you're the legal owner of these shoes, because there's no invoicing system for these one-off shoes. They were given to people. They weren't manufactured to go into consumer households. And so you're putting yourself at great risk. And as he talks in his videos, he kind of mentions that he knew this was a problem. He knew if he asked his business partner on a coaching service he does, Tech and Sports, that he would have told him, no, don't do this. Absolutely not. And this is very important in life and business. This is a huge lesson in life and business when you're doing things. If you have a gut feeling not to do something, and I've learned in my experiences when I've had things blow up or things be a disaster, I had that gut feeling, but it was very small. This is where people get tricked and they get tripped up because they're expecting God to give them some huge message in the sky, or angel comes down from heaven and gives them a scroll. But it's just a still small voice. It's not forceful. It's not pushing you. It's not making you do anything. And it's easy to dismiss because it's not forceful. You have to be tuned in, walking in a righteous way, doing the right things in life. And so when you have that simple, still small voice say, you don't need to buy that item. That's not going to be good to resell. Even though everything in the mental world, you look at it, the numbers add up, you're going to make a huge profit, it's got tons of sales, everything looks right about it. But there's that gut feeling, that intuition, that still small voice of the Spirit telling you, no, don't do this. You need to go with that every single time. You'll never be led astray. He leads you into all truth. You will never make an error doing that. It may seem like an error on the surface, like you're giving up profit. I've seen people do this all kinds of times, but it's not. It is the wise move. Now, you may be a small seller selling on marketplaces, eBay, Amazon, Etsy, wherever, and you may think, well, this doesn't apply to me. I'm not selling $50,000 shoes, but it does apply to you. You have to be diligent and wise about what you're purchasing. Wise about your ability to resell it on that marketplace. Do they allow that? Do they really want that? And you have to go with your gut. There are times I was looking at items to resell, and it looked perfect. Everything was great on the surface. But I had that just still small voice say no. And I just walked away from it, didn't buy it. And then a day later, the item is no longer allowed to be sold on the marketplaces I sell on. So I would have been stuck with this item that cost a considerable amount with no potential place to sell it if I had went with what everything seemed logical on the surface and went against that still small voice. You have to be walking in wisdom, my friend. If you are going into something that's very risky, and you know in your heart this is not the right thing to do, or there's a huge question mark over it in your mind, just move on. And here's one of the lessons I want you to learn from this. There are an infinite amount of opportunities available to you. Whatever inventory you think is the biggest thing and it's going to make or break your life is not it. There is more inventory. There are more opportunities. There are more ways and more paths to get to where you want to go than just that one. Don't take needless risk. Don't put yourself in a position to where if you do take that risk, you have no way of proving the things you need to prove for the marketplace to be able to allow you to continue to sell on there. Don't put yourself in this position. Now, none of this is criticizing Chris and what he did. He knew what he's getting into. He's a very intelligent man. And he knew in his heart that this was probably not the right thing to do. That's why he didn't even ask his friend, who would have told him point blank, as he said himself, would have told him, no, don't do this. Don't go against that wisdom in your heart, my friend. It can be very tempting, very alluring to do things in business and life that are the quick way to easy money. But the wise decision is taking the simple, righteous path that is oftentimes slower, but it gets you to the end goal and brings you great success. My friend, I pray this is a blessing for you. May God bless you richly.